King Productions presents the BearDown Corner with your host, Sergeant Cornholio. Hey everybody, welcome back for another week of the BearDown Corner. I'm Sergeant Cornholio, and we're going to get you up to date on the wonderful league news that is coming in from the free agency as we are now a week into and more and beyond. So let's get to it as we also have the second part of our wonderful State of the Division series that is starting with the AFC North today. So let's break it down for you, shall we? Baltimore Ravens. Well, here's our hot take on them. They have done some moves, but nothing that's too screaming at you. So they signed Cooper Rush, backup quarterback over in Dallas. A good move here, really. You got to think of it. Like, if somehow Lamar goes down, you need a guy that can keep that team moving. And obviously they see something in Cooper that a lot of other teams do too. And he got to sign a 2-year deal there for, I think it was like 10 mil or something like that. Either way, a hell of a backup quarterback if you could afford a price tag over a rookie contract. So congratulations, Cooper Rush. You are now a Baltimore Raven with an opportunity to maybe compete for Super Bowl next year. We'll see what happens, but Lamar Jackson and the rest of that offense is going to get a crack at it because they added on a 1-year, $5 million deal DeAndre Hopkins this week, where he is going to try to make the triage of him, Lamar, and Derrick Henry, you know. Apparently in his interview when he was asked about it, he said, I never thought it would be the three of us able to team up, because a few years back at the NFL Honors, they all took this picture together that he posted on X, and he was all like, imagine what the three of us can do. Well, now we're going to see. So get your bootstraps locked in there, DeAndre, because you're no longer going for big money contracts. You're going after that Super Bowl. And I think the Ravens have a hell of a shot, just as the Buffalo Bills do next year. Honestly, I see maybe a few sleeper teams in there, but definitely Baltimore's a contender. Their window has not closed at all. So it's going to be interesting to see what that three-headed monster can do. In all their signings for that team, they re-signed Ronnie Staley to that 3-year, $60 million contract to keep him protecting Mr. Lamar Jackson and running game. Patrick Richard, the fullback, is getting his due in a re-signing of a year contract, I believe it was, $5 million or so. He's a good player. He's a solid dude that you need in that run game. Like, he was clearing some holes for big old Derrick Henry last year, even though Mr. Henry doesn't need all that much help clearing roads. Continuing on, the restructure of Marlon Humphrey's contract cleared up $13 million, so that way they could sign some of these big deals. And of course, Ben Cleveland. So this was a nice re-signing I seen. He filled in some roles, backup left guard, probably going to get a chance at possibly starting this year. So it's a good depth move and a good cheaper contract for a starter on your O-line, right? Like you got to pay all the money to all these other guys. So you got to find bargains somewhere. So that's a nice little underline, signing that probably won't get a lot of notice on, right? They released their former starting safety, Marcus Williams, as well. So defensively, I can see that being a thing because he was a part of the issues with the first half of the season when their pass defense was absolutely atrocious. But then they started rolling with some younger guns in Kyle Hamilton and a Darius Washington. So they're going to move forward with those two former mid-round picks and cut ties with Marcus Williams, their big free agent signing from 2022. So saving even more cap space, right? So the moves all around happening in Baltimore. They had Michael Pierce announce his retirement from nose tackle, so they got to replace that. But you know what? No fear, Baltimore Raven fans, as you have 11 draft picks going into the draft this year. You can sign some undrafted free agent guys too. It's time, your window of opportunity is here now They're adding the pieces, re-signing the guys they need to, and they're going to build through the draft, it's looking like, this offseason, really. So, pretty, I feel, solid enough play by the GM of the Ravens to not go like all balls deep in for everyone this year. You don't need it. You already made your big free agent signing last year with Derrick Henry and a few other players. Moving a few guys around and giving the payments where they need to be for the guys on your team, right? Like, they're really not that bad at wide receiver at all. They got a bunch of young dudes, Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers, to mention a few, right? Running back is solidified. You know, they're not far off from anywhere. They still got Justice Hill rocking it up as backup over there. He brings a game of change scenery when needed. You got Derrick Henry bowling down the center of that thing. Lamar Jackson just has to do the things and keep minimal turnovers, right? Like, this team is not bad. They're probably most likely in the position to repeat as division champs. But I think the Cincinnati Bengals might have a little something to say on that. With also the Pittsburgh Steelers in that mix, but we'll get to them in a little bit. Out of Bengals camp, as of, I believe it was yesterday, as it was Sunday, right? We got word of the two signings, both getting 4-year contracts. They're big-time wide receivers, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, who is no longer franchise tagged, but has a new 4-year pact. So both contracts are going to keep Jamar Chase in Cincy till 2029, T. Higgins till 2028, and they still have Joe Burrow signed up till 2029. So Chase is going to get $40.25 million a season on his 4-year, $161 million, right? T. Higgins, wide receiver 2, 4-year, $115, so he'll average about $30 million a season plus. So, like, they're keeping the band together, right? They re-signed Mike Gesicki to a 3-year, $25 million. He said in his little interview, you got to pay the Joe Burrow tax. Well, that's still a pretty hell of a good contract for a tight end, though, you know? So, you go off the offensive side, right? And they go and sign Orion Burks, who played for the Philadelphia Eagles, stepped in wild card weekend as their one starting linebacker went out. He filled in admirably and earned himself a new 2-year contract and possibly a starting role, if not really good defense depth at linebacker there. You have Trey Hendrickson wanting a trade / possible new deal. So now the attention turns to that side of the ball. Now you're looking at your 30-year, well, just turned entering his 30-year-old season in Trey Hendrickson, who's been a stalwart and a beast for this defensive line. This defense, in my opinion anyway, being only really, 3 years now removed from the Super Bowl, and I know each year's different, but they're not that far off. They really aren't. They just lost track a little bit. Offensively, they're going to score the shit on you. Simple as that. Higgins, Chase, wherever the hell you want it, Burrow's going to find his open man. If not, he's giving it to good old Chase in the back, or Chase Brown in the backfield as he's running all over the field. Like, that kid's something special. He's a fast, sneaky, powerful little pinball machine. And he uprooted and stole the starting job last year after, I can't even remember the running back they went and signed last year. It was the Colts' former running back. But you don't really hear much of him right now, right? Their offense is solidified. Defensively, you know, shored up a little bit. They signed Joseph Azea to a 1-year, $7 million. You know, Sam J. Perrine is returning at running back as well to help that backfield. But I don't know. I'm not like BJ Hill. He re-signed a 3-year, $33 million. Like, they're re-signing some guys, but I just don't see anything standing out. So I think they're looking to the draft to probably address the defensive side. You're probably going to see some defensive picks by the Cincinnati Bengals in the draft. That's how they're probably approaching this now that they realize, all right, well, we're shelling out all this money, all this cap space, right? It goes to your guys. It goes to your main stars. So now you got to build around them. And how do you do that? Rookie contracts. So look to the draft if you're a Bengals fan to improve the defense. I feel they already have the pieces in place. They just have to surround the rest of them. That's it. So bring in some youth, bring in some cheaper deals on contracts, give the rest of the money to Hendrickson, and let's go, Bengals fans. I actually like the Bengals. I'm a Bears fan, number one, and secretly I cheer for the Bengals. I'm a former Ocho Cinco fan, Mr. Chad Johnson himself, number 85. That was the era that I like to watch the Bengals, with Carson Palmer throwing them deep bombs, if you know what I'm saying, to number 85. But outside of that, I feel they have a legitimate shot and case to be made to make the playoffs next year. Just got to shore up that defense a little bit, baby. And you're right back in it. Offensively, you can score with anyone in the league. Defensively, you did see some holes and openings on that defense last year. And then there were games where you're like, hey, defense of the old, but no, not anymore. So they're going to probably look to the youth, bring back the big boy. And Bengals fans, let's get hot and ready for it. Probably playoffs in your future. All right, the Cleveland Browns. I like this one because it's toilet dump water is what it is. It's like a daytime drama. All right, let's just start with Myles Garrett. Man asked for a trade earlier in the season, off season. Sorry. What do? They give him a $40 million plus contract for a defensive player on a 4-year extension on top of his already 2-year. He's never going to win a Super Bowl, but the man's getting paid $40 million as a non-quarterback player in this league. So you got to give him some props. Really, when I was looking over on the Browns side of the ball, they have some moves that I like, but you know, like when you're this first one, Jack Conklin, right? Former first-round pick of theirs. He's been injury-riddled the last 4 years. He's missed 10 games in 2021, 16 games in 2023, and 5 games in 2024. So they restructured his contract. He's 30. He's going to become a free agent after 2026 instead of 2027. So he actually took less money from 14 mil to a 10 mil with $2 million in incentives this season to drop a year off his contract. So he's kind of looking to bank on himself, I think, when he enters free agency at age like 31, 32, right? So I feel probably best for his career to get the hell out of Cleveland unless they pull something magical off this year. Like, unless there's a miracle that we don't know of, it ain't coming from the Browns. But I'll tell you, though, this much. They signed Malik Collins to a 2-year, $20 million on their defensive line. So at least, you know, some help there for Garrett Wilson. You got Devin Bush, former first-round pick of the Steelers, right? He re-signed at linebacker. Joel Patino is expected back on the offensive side of the ball. He's not going to be retiring yet. Quarterback. What do you guys do? Well, you freed up 39 mil, which you pretty much gave to your defensive end in the Deshaun Watson restructure. Your GM comes out at the combine and basically says, we're more or less moving on from Watson. That's the summed up sense of it, right? So expect his days to be a starting quarterback as the Cleveland Browns he's no longer coming back. Unless they have no other choice, he ain't coming back. They go and trade a 5th-round pick for Kenny Pickett. Now, Kenny Pickett is a former first-round draft quarterback. Couple bad years in Steelers, goes to the Eagles as a backup, wins a Super Bowl. I don't know what I think of this signing. I feel they'd probably be better off with Jameis Winston, honestly. But what do I know, right? You got Jerry Jeudy at wide receiver, and I think Elijah Moore, the vet. They got that other young kid over there, Cedric Tillman, right? So wide receiver-wise, they're not bad, right? Maybe you re-sign Nick Chubb in a way that he's enticed to, I'll be the vet, get a young kid, let's make a push for this, right? Get a dynamic dude in the draft. right? Go get a third-round running back. Go maybe draft a first-round quarterback with that high pick, because really, there's other shit you could probably fill, but at this point, your main concern is quarterback, Browns fans. Defensively, you're really not bad. You really aren't. Ward at DB for you. He's doing wonderful things covering guys, giving you a chance to sack the quarterback. Myles Garrett is a beneficiary of that. But defense can only hold so long when your goddamn offense can't score any points. So they're going to take all them compensatory picks that they got from this free agency period, go in with the picks that they already got, try to do all this shit over again while they're like pushed against the cap wall. Somehow they're still signing guys, pushing money to years later. They're going to end up like the New Orleans Saints sooner than later. But yeah, I don't see the Browns making the playoffs this year. Maybe you go get a Gardner Minshew to come in and compete. You're not going to be affording, the services of a Kirk Cousins or an Aaron Rodgers or a vet quarterback, right? Unless somehow you convince Joe Flacco to come back, that's probably your best option. But what do we know, right? We're just doing our thing here at the BearDown Corner, breaking down the Cleveland Browns that are better off to win a Super Bowl by going to take a dump on the porcelain. So, Browns fans, good luck. I don't see it in the cards for you this year. Moving along, the last team of the AFC North, the wonderful Pittsburgh Steelers, and I saved them for last simply because their quarterback situation is also an interesting tale of tales. So we'll round up quickly on this. They traded for DK Metcalf. We covered that last week when we covered Seattle. They got a second-round pick for him. He signed a new 5-year, $150 million for $30 million a season. He's already come out and said in a recent interview he's willing to take the backseat to George Pickens. He'll be number 2. They got to do right, though, by him and get themselves a quarterback, right? So, well, rounding up a few other signings, they signed Darius Slay at 1 year, $10 million, 34-year-old DB to give some depth, to give some knowledge. I don't really know the purpose of this signing, but they obviously feel that they're not that far off if they're giving a vet who just won the Super Bowl with the Eagles a 1 year, $10 million deal. So you feel pretty comfortable if you're signing guys like this, right? Not a lot of big names here, though. Like, you got Malik Harrison. He's a linebacker. He's played more on special teams since he's entered the league. A 1 or a 2 year, $10 million deal on that. Running back Kenneth Gainwell. He's a change of the pace kind of back. More of a third round depth chart kind of guy. He might back up who is expected to be Jaylen Warren as the starting running back there after Najee Harris walked out. And tight end Darnold Parkin Jr. So this dude is a special case, though. He's like a 6'8", taller, close to 300-pound tight end. He's a big boy. He's going to be blocking some offensive linemen this season. Or not offensive linemen, sorry, defensive linemen this season as he comes in for a walloping 1 year deal. But, not some big signings, but they filled some depth and holes on positions they needed, as they also kind of lost some of the same guys. So they're just kind of playing the compensatory role is kind of what I read about it, where basically you sit back, relax, sign the few guys you need for your backups, draft when it comes time, and get them picks from them free agents that left, right? So they're banking on that. But you can't, as a goddamn 10-7 team that went to the playoffs with Russell Wilson at quarterback. All right, so now we're going to break into the quarterback situation. So here's a few interesting tidbits. What do you do at quarterback? If you are the Pittsburgh Steelers and you have a win-now team with a defense with TJ Watt, who is ripping up the league. He's a defensive player of the year. That team was in the playoffs. They expect to do things that other teams are not even close to right now because they're in a competitive now. The only problem, they have no goddamn quarterback. You go and trade for a wide receiver, but you don't even have a quarterback. And what are they hoping for? Well, let me tell you what they're probably hoping for. Either for Russell Wilson to maybe come back, if they even reach out to him. He's already been to interviews with other teams and not even left with a contract. He visited the Browns. That's shocking as hell. He visited the New York Giants. He left without a contract there, right? Like, I don't know what the hell's going on with Russ Wilson. Maybe he's a 36-plus-year-old quarterback who can still play decent, but not what you want at this point in his career. Like, he is a systematic, run a little bit as you have to. He can still drop a dime. We've seen it last year, but you also seen him struggle last year too. Once the fade of that, initial magic of Russ wore off after 3 fucking games. You seen the Steelers go on a 1-6 dive. So what do you do with Russ? Maybe burn him back to compete. I don't know. Like, they signed Mason Rudolph to a 2-year, $8 million deal. Former Pittsburgh Steeler, right? Like, do you roll with Mason Rudolph? I don't think you do if you're them. Like, shit, move up in the draft. Draft one of these young kids. Go after someone. Like, pull some ballsy-ass move that we haven't seen before. Because, honestly, I don't see the holdout for Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be in your benefit. He's already more or less stated he's more interested within the Minnesota Vikings, I think, because he wants to complete the whole Brett Favre arc of his career, right? Jameis Winston, well, he went to go visit the New York Giants today, so who knows if he leaves there with a contract or not, but as much as I love Jameis, I love me some Jameis. Jameis is fun to watch. Jameis is very fun to watch. He's a bridge quarterback at this point in his career. He's still doing all his picks and fumbles and holding on a little bit too long. He has the talent, for sure. And he's a hell of a gem of a character, but you need a certain aptitude for quarterback in this league. And he'll get you by. Unless he has a complete revolution where he sat down and he worked on certain fundamentals that he should have worked out like 5 years ago and he could have stayed in Tampa. Now your quarterback of the future. Trey Lance is an interesting project, but again, not a starting quarterback within a league that for some reason are 32 teams and all these players that come through the draft and free agency from, leftovers from years past. We don't have 32 starting caliber quarterbacks in this goddamn league. How amazing is that? You have 32 NFL teams with a magnitude of players that fluctuate this league year in and year out. And there's only so many spots. But somehow you only have a select few that know how to play goddamn quarterback. Well, Steelers fans, here's my take and suggestion for you. And this could be on whether you make or don't make the playoffs. So like we said earlier, okay, we think Baltimore's more or less going to make playoffs. Division, that could be decided on what you do here, Steelers fans, and how well the defense of the Cincinnati Bengals plays this season. Pull a ballsy move, throw some first-round picks, and whatever. Throw 3 first-round picks, go up, draft Sherrod Sanders. Or go up and get Cam Ward. Go up and pull some ballsy-ass move in the draft and get a quarterback who you're locked in with a rookie contract so you're not overpaying, because apparently that's a thing, right? I get it when they're not what you expect them to be and you give them these money deals like Trevor Lawrence, to say one, right? You expect more out of them guys, and you're not getting that. So go out and try this rookie because you know what you got on the market with the rest of these guys. Rodgers isn't going to be coming to freaking Pittsburgh, I don't think. I thought it might have been a marriage earlier on in the offseason, but not anymore. Not with reports of him eyeing up Minnesota. There's even been reports of him eyeing up Minnesota, and if he doesn't sign there, he might just retire. So, I guess we'll see. I don't know. The offseason is a wonderful thing, but I feel that if you go and get this rookie quarterback in the draft, most likely going to make playoffs. You got too much talent around you to not. And what's situation better for one of those quarterbacks to enter but under Mike Tomlin? Now, he didn't do great things with Pickett, but, well, we've seen with Pickett. Small-handed quarterback that just, I don't know, whenever I see him throw the ball, it looks like he's bobbling the goddamn thing. Every time it leaves his fucking hand. I haven't seen a good spiral out of that kid. At least good enough. It's not going to get picked off or swatted down. He looks confused when he was out there. Now, don't do the same damn thing, but you got Arthur Smith at your offensive helm. Give him something to work with, something magical. Go get him a young kid that can run around and do all this play action pass shit. And you know what? Let him stand in the pocket and show that he's a quarterback that he can be. Don't go the failed route that you had your chance with Justin Fields, who went 6-2 as your starter. Or sorry, 4-2 or whatever the hell it was. Either way, he finished with a positive rating over Russell Wilson, who bombed the fucking season for you. At the end, he just bombed. I hate to say it because I was enjoying watching them when I did. But he bombed for you guys. So why would you bring that back? Fields has gone to New York Jets, right? 2-year, $40 million there. What are you waiting on with these vets? Just focus your soul into the draft then, if that's going to be the case. But if you think rolling with Mason Rudolph, I like the guy and all. He's a humble fellow. Unless you really feel that confident with him, I just don't see him being a starting NFL quarterback. Unless maybe Tennessee was just a bad fit overall for him. Guess we'll never know until we see the regular season, when the battle for the number one quarterback position in the Steelers and their playoff fates lay in the hands of the GM. And whether he drafts or he signs, he has a main decision to make. So Steelers fans, good luck. And that is the wrap of part 2 of our State of the Division series. All right, let's wrap it up with some around the league news. We'll just blast through this one. All right, Houston Texans fans, here it is. 3-year, $90 million for Derek Stingley Jr. All right. Former first round, number 3 overall pick, Derek Stingley Jr. still has 2 years on his rookie deal with the extension of the 3. It probably merges in there, however it does, because you know they were going to use a 5th-year option on him. So that actually is 2 years already that they still have him. Plus the 3 keeps him in Texans uniform till 2029. Expected to make around average $30 million a season. But here's the weird thing I laughed at his contract. $89 million guaranteed out of 90. Why not just give him the extra $1 million? We've already gone that far. But here's my theory is they want him to feel not just once it kicks in, but that guarantee money is probably spread over those first few years though. Right? So you got a 23, 24-year-old dude who's going to be 28 by the end of his contract. That's a prime for a DB. So expect him to get paid when that happens. Anyway, all-pro corner Derek Stingley re-signs 3-year, $90 million. Oh, all right. So the Giants, we already talked about them meeting with Jameis Winston today. We'll let you know next week on whether he signs with the New York Giants or not. They are also hoping for, of course, the Russell Wilson. Maybe they go back to him. They're in the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes as well. And Joe Flacco has visited. But here's the deal. Russell and Flacco have already visited the Giants and left without contracts. So they're looking for something specific. Now, is it going to be a bridge quarterback vet they look at? Because they still got Tommy DeVito as backup signed already. right? You're already comfortable enough. You released freaking Daniel Jones mid-season last year and gave the reins to this rookie that then ends up getting hurt, and you run it with Drew Lock. Like, man, good luck, Giants fans. Shit. Falcons keep Kirk Cousins. There's an option, maybe, Steelers fans, right? He's had a good full year now to rest and had playing time on that Achilles, right? Do you maybe bring him in on a trade? But I feel with the Falcons keeping Kirk Cousins so here's the deal. I need to break this down a little differently for you. So last week, I believe it was on the Thursday, Friday, if they hadn't traded Kirk Cousins by then, his $10 million guarantee would have kept him on the roster. It's his roster bonus, right? They would have had to pay it. If you're going to pay a guy $10 million roster bonus, you're probably keeping him on the roster unless you got a hell of a trade offer for him. So I feel, especially since he's already basically said, I'll stay as backup. I don't give a shit. Why wouldn't you when you're getting paid what he's getting paid? And you got the rookie quarterback contract already there, so releasing him would almost be too much dead money at this point. So he's going to sit on the bench. He's going to be trade bait. But you're talking about a quarterback who throughout his career has signed, first off, his agent needs to be given a goddamn award of some sort. This man has had 3-4 mega deals for this guy throughout his career, right? But really, though, he's at a point where if acquired by another team, he's played in cold weather, right? He comes out of Minnesota. Yeah, they're in their dome, but they play all the cold weather teams anyway. So he knows about cold weather games. Okay? Is that what you want to go through and put your body through? Maybe, maybe not. But I still feel if you're going to win a championship at this point in your career, the Steelers might be a third option that you can have in getting Kirk Cousins from the Atlanta Falcons. You might give up a little, but it's worth taking a shot. Hell of an upgrade over frickin' Mason Rudolph. Now, is that an upgrade over trading up way too much if you're not comfortable with that in the draft? Maybe not, but you could give maybe a fourth rounder and go get Cousins, have them eat half the cap hit on it if you're worried about paying them the money they are. Just options all around. That's all. Vikings, even though after re-signing Aaron Jones last week to his 2-year, $20 million extension, they go and trade for former starting running back due to injuries last year, but filled in very well, Jordan Mason from the San Francisco 49ers. Now, this move does make sense because they have a plethora of running back depth. You know that Christian McCaffrey is going to be starting next year unless he suddenly takes a nosedive turn in his career. So get what you can out of him now. Undrafted free agent they signed originally, played 3 years under them. I think it's a good roster bolster, right? They still got Ty Chandler on their roster, the Vikings do. So they're not, they're just building for offense. They're building for whoever the hell they bring in at quarterback. Or maybe J.J. McCarthy is about to show the whole world what he can do. Like, the kid didn't really get his honest chance last year if you go from his side of view, but he played it as good as he could. And now he doesn't even have to worry about Sam Darnold because, well, he's in the Seahawks uniform. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting, Viking fans, to see where you go with that. Because, you're linked to Aaron Rodgers or you're going to start your rookie. Honestly, I think they just go with their rookie. I think they're prepping for that. They've already probably told their internal sources, but we'll see. I don't know. Do you burn in the headache of Aaron Rodgers? I wouldn't. Juju Smith-Schuster and running back Kareem Hunt re-signed with the Kansas City Chiefs for another roundabout that they want to go for a ring. Kyle Juszczyk is back with the San Francisco 49ers after getting released. He's back on a 2-year, $8 million deal because they probably just didn't want to pay him what they were paying him before. So, no surprise there because that's the 4th time they've done that with their fullback. Mekhi Beckham, Najee Harris, and Mike Williams are all Los Angeles Chargers. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Williams returns after his 1-year departure where he played in the New York Jets clusterfuck that it was of a season. You get the former Jet who played Super Bowl offensive lineman Mekhi Beckham on I think it was a 2-year deal or something like that. So they shore up some offensive line that they needed. And they get a very hard-nosed runner and reunited with his college head coach, Jim Harbaugh. Najee Harris is going to be the running back in the backfield there for the Chargers. Now, I like this signing because he fits what Greg Roman wants to do perfectly. He is a bell cow, beat you down running back who you can give the ball to 30 fucking times and he's not going to tire out. Now, is he a big time player? Not completely, but in the right system, he could have probably J.K. Dobbins numbers, honestly. Like, I don't even know. Is J.K. even there? I haven't even looked him up. I'm going off all the news info I get of these guys who are signing. I don't know whose contracts all expired, but I can tell you this much. Even if he is still on the roster, that's a hell of an addition at your running back position. So some offensive help coming for Justin Herbert. You know, some familiarity, some more protection, and some more power in the backfield. Dante Fowler returning to the Cowboys on a 1-year, $8 million deal. They're going the route of trying to retool, probably through the draft, but doing the small moves, right? Because you have DeMarcus Lawrence leave for the Seattle Seahawks on a 3-year, $42 million deal. But you sign Dante Fowler Jr. back to the Cowboys. You go and trade for what I consider more backup position players who are former first-round picks, right? They traded for Kyrie Elam, cornerback, for a 6th-round pick, former first-rounder from Buffalo, right? And Kenneth Murray from the Titans. Now, he's a little bit more polished, but just never quite lived up to those exact expectations. They get him for a 6th-rounder at linebacker. I don't know what the hell the Cowboys are doing, guys. I don't. They signed these stupid, lucrative, absolutely absurd extensions to players that haven't done shit. I'm sorry, Dak Prescott, yeah, he's an NFL quarterback. He ain't winning a goddamn Super Bowl for the Cowboys. He just ain't. CeeDee Lamb's going to be a wasted fucking talent, and you'll hear of him like Dez Bryant. What the hell did Dez Bryant ever do after he is at the Cowboys? Overinflated egos from an owner that isn't willing to let go of the reins enough to let a proper GM and someone with today's knowledge of the NFL run his goddamn organization. And you can have all the people you want by you, but when he, at the end of the day, is making the decisions, because Jerry Jones still is, I don't know. I'm not even going to get into it, because it's not even worth going into a rant of for Jerry Jones. It isn't. The man won his Super Bowls in the 90s. Cowboys fans have been starved for 30 plus years. End of discussion. Jets release linebacker CJ Mosley. I'm interested to see where he ends up, because that is a big time play linebacker who's going to be a great addition for any team who decides to take a flyer on him. So stay tuned for that update whenever it comes in. Panthers sign Rico Dowell, former running back of the Dallas Cowboys, nonetheless. Had a 1,000-yard plus season. You know, it was due to game script, but by the time the Cowboys were already out of it, it didn't matter anymore. So, not really shocked they let him walk. They got some plan, obviously, and it ain't involving bringing back guys that they didn't see do all that great last year. And I understand that. But if you think that CD is a good wide receiver, all right? CD is a solid dude. Just Dak is not the guy for your quarterback. And you're wasting the time and money on this 30-plus-year-old 4th-round pick that had a highlight of a year, the year Tony Romo got injured, and hasn't held shit since. Has he, he's won a wild card playoff game? Ooh. Trevor Lawrence has done that. It's like, what's so special about him? He hasn't gone past the divisional round. He throws for absurd amount of yards because his team is always down. He's led a few fourth quarter comebacks, but he's not the quarterback for you Cowboys fans. He's not. But that's okay. To finish off, little news note from my wonderful source. Tevin Jenkins, former offensive lineman for the Chicago Bears. I like this kid personally. I feel whoever acquires his services, he's been linked to a few teams. But the most recent that came across my desk as per se, phone, is Seattle. And I like this because they lost a offensive lineman, I think traded whatever to Texans there recently. But I think he'd be a good addition for the Seahawks. And here's why. He's a big, very strong-bodied guy that in college he might as well have been a first-round pick. He dropped because of some character issues. Now, it's followed him a little bit, but as we've seen, new scenery sometimes equals a new taste, which equals a new player. So if you can get this kid to do what he did in college, you are protecting the shit out of your quarterback, because this is the kind of guy that if shit goes down after the play, he's yanking that son bitch off your running back, receiver, other offensive lineman. You fuck with his quarterback, he's going to knock your throat in. So that's the kind of guy I want on my team. Now, can he live up to the hype of what he was projected to be coming out of college? Time will tell. But for what the market is for linemen right now, there's not a bolster of options still left. So I think Jenkins would be a good fit if that's what you're looking to do, Seattle, because you've already ramped up your defense and you've ramped up your offense. New looks. But you got to think, though, they had a first-year head coach, went 10-7, and didn't want to deal with some of the veteran bullshit that was being tossed their way, obviously, this offseason. So they went their own game plan. And now it's time to see what Mr. McDonald and the rest of that crew can do this year. As I already said last week, I think they are most likely playoff bound this season, as long as it all plays within the system that McDonald and that crew are doing. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up here for the Bear Down Corner. I'm Sergeant Cornholio. Thank you for tuning in this week. We are available on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and of course iHeartRadio, with the YouTube channel as well. So you all take care, have a great week, and we'll catch you next week here at the Bear Down Corner.